It is August 11th, 2024. And have I got a tale for you? I'm CW, and yes, I found this one in a story in one of my books here in the dungeon. After all, it's not hoarding if it's books, right? Thanks again for watching, and I guarantee you, if you don't stay until the end, you'll miss the best part of this story. Let's start off with Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press, etc., etc., etc. That's part of the First Amendment of the United States of America's Constitution, as ratified June 21st, 1788, and then set in motion on March 9th, 1789. The freedom of the press. See, it's you and I, we give them the power of the press. And there's a story to be had. There's no promise from religion, free speech, those assembled, and certainly no promise from those of the press to be responsible for their freedoms, lies, damn lies, and omissions, which is a way of lying by the press, and now by broadcast networks, including YouTube, continue today. You, as students of history, must be vigilant. You know, I knew other words. You must hold these sources to be accountable. Challenge them with their facts, because trust me, it's crap sometimes. But especially if they use that little ploy, an unnamed reliable source. Usually ends up being 20 bucks in somebody's pocket. I don't mean to say that all people are like that, and sometimes reliable sources are important, like all the time. Be nice to have some. So let's go to the story. We'll call it the bathtub story. Henry Louis Minkin wrote in December 1917 in the New York Mail an account history of the bathtub in America. He titled it, he called it A Neglected Anniversary. In his article, Minkin wrote that on December 20th of that year, it was the 75th year of the introduction of the bathtub as a fixture in America. He cited that 8 or 9 months prior, a young doctor, I think he was associated with the Public Health Service in Washington, D.C., found the facts that while working on a presentation of public hygiene, accordingly, he discovered that the first bathtub was installed in America December 20th, 1842. It was set up in the city of Cincinnati. Meakin stated in his essay that Cincinnati, though no leader in culture at the time, it had plenty of rising businessmen of adventure. One of these was Adam Thompson, who dealt directly with cotton, grain, both the sales and importing of, and apparently shipping. And his work, a lot of times for Adam Thompson, took him to England. And apparently, on several occasions, he took up the art of bathing in a bathtub. It was 1842, and then he started building the first of its kind modern bathroom in his Cincinnati home. But there was no source of city water, so Thompson arranged for his well that he already had on his property for the garden to have a pump placed in the garden to deliver water to the bathtub. It had to be operated by hand. It was similar to that of like the 6-man pump you'd see on both sides. People would be handling the pumps going up while one was going down, like a fire engine pump that would be drug behind the horses for their delivery. Um, he had two tanks inside the home, and he filled them both. The tub was nearly 7 foot in length. The tub was almost 7 foot long and weighed in at about 1,750 pounds. The new owner took two baths that day, the first day. One was with warm water, and the other one was with cold. According to Meekins' writing, approximately 100,000 people from Ohio found out about this contraption within the next 2 days. Unbelievable. Several rich people in the area immediately wanted a bathtub. And, this is the mid 19th century. Keep that in mind. A lot of things say, whatever, bathtub. Um, and they thought a bathtub, well, that was pretty much a luxury, but it also deemed to be a dangerous habit by the 1843 Western Medical Repository. There was a chance of severe fevers, rheumatoid arthritis flaring up, and the inflammation of lungs, according to the publication that Meekin freely quoted from. This history was also included that the fact the Philadelphia Common Council considering prohibiting bathing altogether after this. There was such a march of people trying to get bathtubs. The Commonwealth of Virginia, they posed a $30 tax on each tub sold. And it wasn't until 1847 that the medical profession slowed down their attacks because of this invention of the pine tub was finally lined with zinc. The first one in New York was opened September 12th, 1847, and by the beginning of the 1850, there were 1,000 tubs being used in the Big Apple. There was still some medical opposition. In 1849, the American Medical Association polled its members, and now, after the poll, they realized 55% of their members consider bathing as harmless. Macon wrote that the vice president, Miller Fillmore, in 1850, who, while on stomping for votes or something in Ohio, he came up to the original Thompson bathtub in Cincinnati. Adam Thompson had long passed away, but the home was still open, and the owner allowed the vice president to come in. Well, he allowed the vice president to go ahead and take a bath. And according to the biographer of Fillmore, he had no bad experiences other than being clean. Furthermore, once Fillmore succeeded Zachary Taylor as president upon his death, he ordered that the Secretary of War, General Charles Conrad, to prepare for the installation of a bathtub to the White House. Well, this just reignited an old controversy. There was luxury above the common people, and all the common people couldn't afford it. There was no bathtub, after all, at Monticello or Mount Vernon. In the article, it was noted that the New York Herald commented that Fillmore intended to do a lot more than that he was planning to bring the original alabaster bath that was used by Louis Philippe at Versailles and put that in the White House somewhere on the second floor. But General Conrad publicly called for open bids, and companies of engineers in Philadelphia, a company of engineers in Philadelphia, um, Harper and Gillespie, provided a tub of cast iron. But this took until 1851, and the device remained in service at the White House till Grover Cleveland's first term. The U.S. Army continued and pushed bathing in 1862 by none other than General McClellan. Couldn't get along with Abraham Lincoln, but he sure wanted a nice, clean army. And this was followed up in 1870 by the first prison bathtub being set up in Philadelphia. Meekin wrote that he was greatly surprised by how little the history of the bathtub had been recorded. Parts of the story were reprinted in a number of journals, newspapers. Paragraphs fell into textbooks, other works of scholarships, like medical journals. There are some history books right now sitting in public libraries that show the most important event of Millard Fillmore's term was the introduction of the bathtub to the White House, and thusly to the rest of America. Now, the power of the press and the rest of the story. According to Henry Louis Mencken, you boobs, you boobs of the middle class, or the bourgeoisie, are dumb and ignorant, and you need someone to take care of you. Your opinion is based on religion and who you are. Mencken was a racist, very anti Semitic. Later scholars would try to tell you that he was an elitist. Yeah, he was certainly that, but he was a racist. When they, after the Great World War II, when the concentration camps came out and they were liberated, he never wrote a thing about them. Well, he liked Nietzsche, and like Nietzsche, he was an atheist. He was a German, and he was a German from birth. His family were German. His father owned a cigar factory. He was able to put him in the best schools, boarding schools and colleges and everything. He wrote critically of FDR and FDR's New Deal, but never wrote a negative word about Adolf Hitler. He was came from a good family, but as far as he was concerned, if you were middle class and your father's a plumber and your mother sold notions, he would have thought of you as stupid. And so he didn't have a problem with the power of the press. So back to the story. The whole thing was a hoax. I think the only thing real was the fact that Fillmore was Zach Taylor's vice president and did actually become president. His point in writing this was to show that the public, you, would believe anything once they see it in print without regards to any sources. Hell, even other papers and medical journals, like I said, used his incredible crap. Don't trust the media for anything unless they prove it to you. Remember, members of the U.S. Press Corps and cable and broadcast news agencies were completely surprised by Joe Biden's terrible debate performance. While halfway around the world, in Australia, Sky News was not surprised at all and had been speaking of the president's decline for almost an entire year. So be a good student at any age and do your own work and your own research. Don't always trust the press. Don't trust always YouTube or the guy on YouTube. But you can trust me because it's history. Well, that's a tale for you, and that's history. And it's all in the past. See you tomorrow when we talk about today. See you.